Earth, YouTube, humans, how are you doing? I watch too many trials and they're kind of sad. And I've already talked about this twice in a race, 2 videos, because it's not fun or funny. But Jennifer Crumbly is a very interesting case. I kind of feel like somebody's got to pay for this, and just the boy going to jail forever isn't enough. But when parents drop the ball, they sometimes super drop it. And, also when they arm their children, I think that's kind of a problem. She definitely was disconnected. And why do I love trials? Because anything can happen. And it came out on the stand yesterday that her friend was having an affair with her. And it wasn't supposed to be released in the trial. And then it came out, and so now I'm wondering, is this how the husband is finding out that his wife was having an affair with a fireman? And so they totally gloss over it when Jennifer got on the stand today, which is a brave choice. It's always a brave choice. I usually think it's a pretty unwise choice. But hey, it worked out for a tie in Florida. So maybe and when you really vehemently want to defend yourself. So, the fireman and she were having an affair. And so her lawyer, who also defended Larry Nassar, I'm trying not to hold that against this woman, but her personality by itself is enough to have guard up. Her lawyer is Spitfire, and she's a good lawyer. So it comes out that they were having an affair, and they glossed the hell over that one. I don't think it was a problem, because we were having an affair like before work and like on the weekends. And so it never affected my son that I was having this affair. That doesn't mean your head was in the game ever, because where's your head when you're having an affair? You're thinking about that, right? That's what I was thinking. She might have been a little distracted by that. And then, so I'm not wild about that. I am not wild about the fact that they had bought the gun like that week. And I really don't like that they didn't bother putting a code on the safe. She's like, well, we got the cord locks and I hid the keys. And so but there could have been 2 layers of prevention. And what is a teenager's job if not to find the keys to the car when the parents are gone or whatever? Oh, the other thing that's disturbing is he was looking up bullets on his phone, and I'm disturbed that the teachers were able to see that. I don't know if it's like they saw him doing it or if they can tell what is being done from the internet in school, but I'm going to talk to my kids about that. Say, don't do anything on your phone at school, please. But they have pretty good rules at my kid's school. But yeah, so they knew that he was looking at bullets, and mom's reaction was, don't get busted next time. It's okay to be a cool mom, but that's too cool. And then there was a discussion of the son being upset. He is showing emotional distress, and she gives him a Xanax, and the conversation is, I think it was a little much for him. I should have given him half a Xanax. Or maybe no Xanax at all and take him to someone to talk to. It's very, very complicated. But in private, this young man was screaming for help. And I just don't think his parents were very connected. They make a point of showing like how much attention she was giving her horse and whatnot. And so it's a tough one to watch. It really is. And it's very opinionated in chat. And, when life is hard and sometimes you have to put yourself in a different place and say, well, at least this isn't happening to me. And so today, I am so thankful that I am not going to be on the stand tomorrow being cross-examined for this trial, because it's going to be a tough one for Jennifer, but it'll be very interesting to watch. So that's halfway through, and we'll talk about that again, I'm sure. And then I am kind of upset that Murdaugh isn't getting another trial. I think Becky had super awful intentions. I think she overstepped her job. I think she shouldn't have a job. I'm mad that Judge Newman was affected by... Judge Newman was such a good judge. He was so wonderful. And now his whole thing, his retirement, is marred because this woman wanted to write a book. And she wanted a very specific ending to her book. And she pushed that jury to give that ending. So I'm really surprised that they didn't honor him another trial. But no matter what, he's going to jail forever. So would it make a big difference, even if they found him not guilty of killing his wife and son? He's still going to jail forever and ever for his money crimes. So we're saving money and all that kind of stuff. But Becky did bad, and I'm just mad about that. That should not have happened, top to bottom. Writing a book, going to New York, talking to the jurors, telling them what got me is once they started deliberating, no one's allowed to go have a cigarette. Now that once we're in deliberations, once you're in lockdown, after all the evidence is in, you can't have a cigarette until you give us an answer. That is duress. That is absolutely duress. As a nicotine, very, very addicted person, I would have a major goddamn problem with that. So Becky's bad, and Alex is very, very bad too. Don't get me wrong. He's very, very bad. But I guess he's not getting another trial. I'm kind of surprised. And then another lady who's been trying to have a trial forever. Are you following Sarah Boone? Sarah Boone is a unique person who lives in Florida. So there's your first hint. She's from Florida, and she put her boyfriend in a suitcase because they were playing hide and seek, and then whoops, I drank too much and I fell asleep, and then he didn't survive the suitcase overnight, and she got so drunk that night she also forgot that she filmed the suitcase and her growling at it like a demon. The interrogation is. She's a piece of work. It's hard to watch. She's very full of herself. First of all, like the body camera, the first cop that shows up, she's not beside herself. She's not in tears. She's not as upset as you should. It's like, it's almost like, I left the stove on. Oh my God, I left the gate open and the dog got out. It's that kind of energy. It's not like, holy shit, I just killed the love of my life. I fucked up so bad. It's almost like she read the laws, and she's like, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't intentional. And they're like, hey, what about this video on your phone? We confiscated your phone and we found this video. And they start to play it, and she's like, I don't want to watch this. And the lady's like, I bet you don't. Even the investigators are over this woman. She thinks very, very highly of herself. And she's like, I was making Jorge a better person. He couldn't do anything without me. Well, you know, once you hear from her ex-husband, which The Dreading is one of the best true crime stations, and he did a wonderful episode that's just her ex-husband's encounter with the cops, because she called him before she called 911. So she's like super codependent on her son's father. They live very close by, and he's like, I'm not surprised that someone's hurt or dead. It was a matter of time. They had domestic violence problems all the time. It's so matter of fact. And his whole life was waiting to see if Sarah's going to be taking care of her son today. Otherwise, I will be taking him. He could count on absolutely nothing from her. And he always had to call her twice because she was always hungover and never ever answered the phone the first time. It would be so hard. This man is an angel. And the one thing about the Sarah Boone case that brings me comfort is, and it pains me to say this as a mother, but her son is better off without her around. She thinks too highly of herself to actually be an effective human being. I was top of my class. Yeah, but you never even went to college. We're talking about high school and you're like 40? Like, seriously. I just wish I had that kind of self-confidence. I wish I thought half of myself as Sarah Boone thinks of herself. So Sarah Boone was arrested 4 years ago. The universe is amazing. She gets arrested, I think, in February of 2020, and then COVID hits. So she's had every delay possible, including lawyers quitting and lawyers getting fired and lawyers just can't take her. And I don't blame, she's on her 8th lawyer, 8th in less than 4 years. 8 is insane. But so maybe a lot is being released of these letters that she keeps writing to the judge, which is like, I know the judge isn't making the decision, but holy shit, you're not making friends. But she's not wrong. She is not being allowed the process that, you know, America is about, and things are getting delayed. But it's also because she can't get along with the goddamn lawyers, and they keep quitting and or getting fired because she looks like a piece of work and very difficult to please. And she also doesn't seem very upset about the death of her boyfriend. So this is going to be interesting. And what's great is they keep postponing the trial because, you know, the lawyers keep dropping off and away from her as fast as they can. And finally, this judge is like, you're right. You have waited too long, and your trial starts in May. And I know that you are just getting a brand new lawyer right now, but it's happening in May. So all or nothing, baby. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that one. Yeah, so that's my court little update. I saw, and now, true, Crimedy. It's time to talk about comedy. I finally watched Dave Chappelle's stand-up last night, which is like obviously always wonderful. And I love that he is so honest and he incorporates what happened to Chris Rock. And I'm still very mad about what happened to Chris Rock. I was obviously a bigger Chris Rock fan than I was a Will Smith fan, but I knew Will Smith before I knew Chris Rock. And so I was as surprised as anybody that he reacted the way that he did. But the way that Chris Rock handled it was genius. It was poised. It was poetic. It was badass. He's a fucking hero. And I've always said, it's George Carlin, Chris Rock. And now that George has passed, Chris Rock is the greatest living comedian. And Dave says those exact words. And I was like, yep, I am right. I am the queen. That is correct. Chris Rock is the greatest living comedian. He is so calculated and so precise. He does not improvise anything. Not that comedians that improvise are bad. They're wonderful. I love Paula Poundstone is fantastic, and she improvises a ton of her material. But when George did his material, he had every syllable planned out. And Chris Rock is very much that way. I saw Chris Rock twice in one night, and there was only one line that was different. And I think he was responding to some hecklers, because the second show is always a shit show because everybody's always drunk. And as I've recommended before, always try to go to the second show, if not both. You're probably not insane like me and need to see a comedian twice in one night. But if you do, that's how you should do it. The second show is always the best. So I felt vindicated. It was like, yes, if Dave Chappelle says that Chris Rock is the greatest comedian, then that is correct. Which means I am correct, because I've been saying that for years. He is such a pro. In fact, I'm going to name drop. So I used to go to the Aspen Comedy Festival. This is back when I did comedy, and I didn't go thinking I was going to get famous. I went because I wanted to meet all these comedians and see all these great shows. And I went with a very beautiful friend of mine, not that I'm not beautiful, but she just, the jaws drop and the eyes bulge and ooh, gosh, she's that kind of beautiful. So she got more attention than me because I'm a little fluffier and I just know how the shit is. That's probably why I don't do stand-up anymore. But, so I get back to the bar because while I went to shows, she was drinking and schmoozing. And she's talking to Chris Rock and George Carlin's manager. And she's like, hey, this is Chris. He is the manager for George Carlin and Chris Rock. And I shake his hand and I'm like, I have a question. Why doesn't Chris Rock tour anymore? Even though George was my hero, I didn't want to fawn too much, right? And he goes, oh, because he's a movie star now. And I was like, and this is in like 2003, maybe? And I was like, would you please tell him that his fans miss him a lot? And I sure will. And you know what? He went on tour the next year. I'd like to take credit for that. It's probably not true. But I've always thought that's kind of cool that I told his manager, hey, he should tour more because that's obviously the king. And then he did. And I went and saw him on that tour. And he did a thing that I have also never seen before or since. Chris Rock sneezed on stage. And I had thought about sneezing on stage and the fact that I had never seen anybody sneeze on stage. And I had been pontificating to myself, why don't you see people sneeze on stage? Is there something psychological about sneezing that you're in your zone when you're performing music or comedy or whatever, that you never see someone sneeze on stage because it takes your head out of it? And so, yeah, it was really neat that he's all of a sudden stops and then sneezes and continues with his bit. It's just a weird moment that I'm happy I have seen. Where am I going with any of this? Dave bought a farm and he calls it the Fuck You Farm because he was offered $50 million from Comedy Central to continue with the Dave Chappelle show. And he had so many yes men around him that he lost confidence in what he was doing was being funny. And he said, fuck you, $50 million. I'm going to buy a farm and I don't need you. And there's like such an awesomeness and a freedom to that. And I love him for that. And he is still fuck you farm energy. He, remember, he did the first comedy special after lockdown. And the opening, he did it on his farm. He had people come to his property. Everybody was wearing masks with a C on it. Totally brilliant. Everybody had their temperature taken, a little bit of distance. He made it happen. And like, bless him for doing that. Like, for breaking that wall down. And like, yes, we can laugh again. Dave Chappelle is just like the king, and damn it, he's funny. And I love that he is still finding controversial things to say and do. And he pissed off so many people with those last specials. Everybody felt like kind of tricked. And so he's like, but I'm not going to do that again. And then he does it for 40 minutes. Just like, yes, I love it. That's my story. I love all comedy. I love all comedians. Even if they don't make me laugh, I still love them. Tracy Ullman is not a laugh riot to me, but damn, is she talented. She can do all those characters, you know? So that's how I love all comedy. That's why this is true Crimedy. And I guess I'm done with my story. Thank you for your time.